Authority Board of Directors meeting for Tuesday, June 26th at 3 p.m. Can we have a roll call?
Yes, Renee Plain.
Present.
Jesse Dami.
Present.
Jonathan Bolware.
Present.
Karen Aboud and Sandra Nagel. Karen is in
We waited, but Iris made me go, so I had to go.
Sandra is
Sorry.
absent at this time.
Not true.
Okay, so you got Karen, right? Okay, so can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Let's see, public comment. Seeing there's no public comment, we'll move on for possible action approval of the minutes from May 14th, 2018, and from May 23rd, 2018. One was May 14th, the board meeting, May 23rd, the budget hearing.
I move approval of the minutes for May 14th, 2018 as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Possible action, adoption of agenda. Anybody see any reason why
Well,
we
we have
need?
to approve the budget, 1 and 2. So I did them separate.
What's that?
I did the
Oh, you did. Sorry.
I move to approve the minutes for May 23rd, 2018 as presented.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, so now we'll talk for possible action, adoption of agenda. Anybody see any reason why we need to change it?
I have a couple of changes on it. The only thing I would change for the meeting today is on non-action items, eliminating A, C, D, and E, upcoming meetings. The only thing on non-action items that will include today's meeting, because we're pretty much here to go over the augmentation for the fiscal year 18 to close out our budget, but with the fact that our marketing manager has accepted the director's position with White Pine County, I want Kyle to have an opportunity to go ahead and do a brief marketing report, although it's probably just a little synopsis of his success, I think. So
We'll be interested to see what that presentation is all about.
But with the non-action items, the transient occupancy report for April will be posted as normal with all the deadlines onto the website and distributed to the board after the meeting. And the events update, James will send out an email to all of the board members also on the events update. Okay.
All right, so really the agenda is there's no change in order to the agenda, so we don't really have any changes in order to the agenda, so we'll go as the agenda was printed. Thank you, Joel, for that. Possible action to approve the adjusted CTA fiscal year 2018 budget report. Chris.
So this budget report is for the accounting period 10 of 2018, which is through April. We're at 83% of the fiscal year 18. The room tax revenues, the revenue in here is for room tax revenue received through April 30th, which would be for your March room tax. I did update the fiscal year 19 projected carryover to what this matches our budget augmentation now, so that kind of gives you an idea where we're at. In the revenues, we have $1,707,626.51, which is at 74%, which is not that far from our 83% because we're a month behind on revenue. We are submitting our grants. Joel's done all the grants, so we don't have anything in the income for grants yet. We'll have that submitted, so that'll come in probably next month, which will still be posted in this fiscal year. Everything else there is pretty standard. So unless you have questions, I'll go on to page 2. The intergovernmental expenditures were at $255,670.63. We usually make the interlocal agreement with the city. Most of the time, we just do a couple of payments a year. We are making, the new one you can see in there is the interlocal agreement for arts and culture for when Mark moved over to the city. So the $25,936.96 is reflecting, I believe it's March and April. And then the projected is $61,000. That's what we're projecting to make March through June, the 1% for his stuff. Any questions on the interlocal part there? No? Okay. Next is salaries and wages. We're at $437,199.95, which is at 64% of the year. The next page, services and supplies of $625,309.26, which is at 69% of the year. The only red areas we have is the insurance, which that's been paid for the whole year. We're done for fiscal 18. And then under operating supplies, we're at 95%. Part of that is the $30,000 that went to the Da Vinci head. And then we're pretty much done with a good chunk of everything, so that's why that one's high. Any questions on that one? And then on the last page, that's for the taxation reports. We're showing the adjusted revenue total at $1,707,626.51 with an expenses total of $1,318,179.84. And for all fund balances, we have $1,901,295.67.
Any questions? All right.
I move to approve the adjusted fiscal year 18 budget report as presented through April 2018.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. For possible action to approve the CTA statement of accounts payable, checks, and P-card report for April 2018.
So the first page is our accounts payable checks that were paid April 1st through April 30th. The top one, that's $13,396. That's for our Bank of America for P-card charges that you guys approved last month, the March through April. The next big one down is the $27,562.50, which is the second payment for being the host city for the Epic Rides event that just happened. The next one down, we've got Greg Smith Incorporated for $1,500. That's a 2018 California and Oregon Trails Partnership Marketing Program that Kyle could probably expand on if you need it. The next couple down are the Konica, the printer and the cutter lease payments. And then we have NB Consulting invoices, just our standard every week invoices as per the contract. And then at the bottom, the Sierra Nevada Media Group, $5,000 for the March targeting internet ads that we've talked about each month, with a total of $74,458.39 for AP checks. Any questions on those? No? Okay. Next page is the P cards. The first one's $845 to Resource Revival. That's keychains that we've used for swag for Epic Rides and for the grant for the mountain bike ride to Highway 50 to Ely. Next one, big one down, is Home Away, $1,301. That is the final payment on the lodging for Sea Otter Classic. But then down below, you'll see another $1,000 credit for the deposit that was put down on there. And then the next one underneath there is $991.67, which is Simple View, which is the mobile app leasing for April. Other than that, everything else is pretty standard marketing stuff. And on the last page, the discount mugs, $1,154. That was our logo put on backpacks for the Nevada track meet. Any questions on that one?
Chris, I see 3 charges for Reach Local on the 6th, 13th, and 21st. Is that a weekly?
It's a monthly. There's three different marketing programs each month. So
All are listed under geofence model.
yes, there's different, and Kyle can tell you because they change every month.
Correct, so that would be the outdoor campaign, the dining campaign, and the arts campaign. So they're all 3 geofenced campaigns, but they're different ad copy and different targeted characteristics.
Okay, so we have a fixed kind of marketing expense of about $6,500 because we pay $5,000 to the targeting ads, and we pay the $1,500.
Correct.
Okay.
Sandra Nagel is in attendance.
So any more questions on the invoices or the payments for the month? All right.
So you guys actually stayed at the Clown Motel? That's the one in Tonopah? That was a little
Better
freak. I
believe
mean, I've passed by there every time. My wife refuses to stay at that place, so.
And I have to tell you, it was everything we expected.
I move to approve the CTA account activity statement of accounts payable checks and P-card charges for April of 2018 as presented.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. What do we got? Possible action to approve the resolution to augment fiscal year 2017-2018 budget.
Okay, so on the first page, gives you kind of the rundown for the general fund. It's highlighted in yellow. So the total recess for the general fund at the beginning of the year, we budgeted $2,241,418. The available resources are now determined to be $2,591,334. So that's an excess of $213,670 from the projected. $99,402 in room tax revenue, $8,000 in intergovernmental revenue, and a decrease in miscellaneous income of $2,760, and a transfer in from the V&T capital of an additional $31,604 for a total of $349,916. And then we can go through the breakdown on the next.
Chris,
couple
I just have a question. The decrease in projected miscellaneous income, is that because the gift store went away?
No, that's an interest decrease, and we'll kind of break it down on the next page here. So this is page 3 of 16 here. The general fund, so we are expecting $99,402 in additional room revenue for room taxes, and if you guys want any breakdown on that, Joel can speak to that. Intergovernmental, the $8,000, that's additional grants that we received over what we budgeted. The miscellaneous, the decrease is $2,760. I'm not sure, this is the interest that we make through the city's treasurer's office. They've been so fluctuated that we just went with the safe route and kind of went average what's been going on. At the beginning of the year, they were doing really well with it, and now it's seemed to taper off, so we just took some out, just on the safe side. The transfer in, originally, this transfer in is the money from the B&T capital, where we said that we would use it for marketing to support the train. So that's what the transfer in is, because of the additional room revenue that we didn't budget in for this year. There's an additional $31,000 coming from that one. The next page, that's just the total of all of the things we just discussed on the last page. And then our beginning fund balances, and Originally, we figured they were going to come in at $599,888. The $813,558 is what we actually ended the year in last year from our audit that Beth Cohn did. So we started the year with $213,000 more than we budgeted. So with the addition of the additional room revenue this year and the addition of starting the new year off larger than we thought, we have $349,916 more than we budgeted. And then the breakout for the expenses on page 5 of 16. The salaries and wages, we have $25,000 in additional. That comes from the payout when Joel retired, plus the savings. So there, I think it was about $40,000 in payout, and then we only have $25,000 here because of the savings we have of not having his salary. Employee benefits went down because of his salary. And services and supplies, we budgeted about $51,000 in additional for like insurance went up and different things like that, rent and different things like that. So the general government section's just basically the admin side. Then culture and recreation is pretty much everything else. Arts and culture before it left, marketing, the visitor center, which we don't really have a lot in there because we're not running the store anymore. So the salaries and wages went up to about $14,000 with the addition of the administrative assistant and the change in James going from the marketing assistant to events manager. Same with the benefits, went up a little bit. Services and supplies, we went up $63,000. Just basic, expenses going up and also getting additional money for grants and such like that. So we bumped that up a little bit to match what we've been got going on. The intergovernmental expense, because the room revenue went up, the intergovernmental expenses went up, and we kind of budgeted a little bit more because where we've run into trouble before is we budget the interlocal expenses as the percentages that they are, but we end up bringing more money in, we end up having to pay more money out. So we this year we padded this so that we can not run into that problem. So, any questions? I'm sorry. Next page is just the totals, and then the actual ending fund balance, what we budgeted versus what we ended up at last year, for a total of $349,916 in revisions of expenses.
So just to wrap up, the way that I worked in the room tax revenue projections for the augmentation, we saw a decrease the last couple of months, and I think that has a lot to do with certainly a little bit of a slowdown, flattening out, but not having the legislative session in process. So the only room tax revenue, we're a little bit shy of having all of the May report in, but looking at June of last year, 2017, we haven't been as far down as 10%, but I took a 10% reduction from 2017 number, used that to roll in. Looking at what we've collected year to date, as of today in room tax revenue, we were at $2,068,430, and adding in June of 2017 minus 10% is an additional $215,000. That would put us at $2,283,444. The number I used in the augmentation number was $2,254,000. So I'm still, even with the 10% reduction in my estimation on the revenue, projecting that we're still going to be about 20,000 higher. We have 5 days left in expenditures, and as you can see in the budget report, we're nowhere near expending the amount that we've said we were going to. So we'll be no different than we were last year, where we had 200,000 plus in carryover that we didn't budget. You'll see the same thing this year.
Okay, so then we'll go on to capital projects. And so we're reporting that we budgeted $497,665 on July 1st, and the total available resources now determined to be $536,794. So the actual beginning fund balance, we started off with $8,585 more than we budgeted. And then with the increase in the room tax revenue, $31,604, and then the decrease in the interest income of $1,060 gives us a total of $39,129. And this is pretty cut and dry because so additional revenues we're planning on getting in is $31,604. The interest we just talked about is the same we're just kind of budgeting for less, just to be on the safe side. There's no other real expenses there. So on page 9, we have a total of $30,544 in additional revenue. And then the beginning fund balance, which we just talked about, was additional $8,585 for a total of $39,129 additional available resources for capital projects fund. And on the next page, there's no revision in the intergovernmental expense because this is the one where we have the set payments for the bond. So we already knew at the beginning of the year what we owed, so we didn't make any changes here. So on page 11 of 16 breaks down that there was no change there. So we ended the year last year $39,129 more in expenses. So that totals out there. Any questions on capital projects? Okay, so V&T capital, same thing. We're expecting an additional $5,821 in room tax. And then a decrease of $1,981,000 in interest income for a total of $35,445. So on the room tax, same thing, we're budgeting $31,604 in additional. The interest, again, coming down a little bit lower. Where we see the change will be in the intergovernmental expenses. Sorry, am I going too fast? So total revenue sources on page 14 of 16, additional $29,624 in revenue. Beginning fund balance was $5,821 in addition, for a total of additional available resources of $35,445. We did have additional intergovernmental expenses in $95,000. Those were the ones that you guys had voted for earlier in the year.
That was the additional maintenance for the V&T for the Polar Express, and then the budgetary change that we made for the end of the fiscal year.
So with the addition of those expenditures and an additional transfer out, which is that money that we are using to market the train, gives us a negative $91,159, which is going to end up bringing the ending fund balance down to $479,511. Any questions on that one?
So Chris, the V&T Capital Projects Fund, that went down from the year before by about 91,000. And 95 is the expenditure. So, like the 91,159 on the last final page, how did we come to that?
Okay, so the only thing we had coming out of the 2% that goes for the V&T capital, we transfer all of that into the general fund for the marketing. So the only change that we actually had was the $95,000 you guys voted to take out of the beginning fund balance. So we brought the beginning fund balance down $95,000. And then because we have the additional operating transfers out, that's where we're coming up with the difference. But we also have the it's hard to explain with these taxation forms. So we're bringing in additional revenue, but it's transferring right out into the general fund. And then we have the interest income is dropping it down just a little bit. These forms make me crazy, so I'm not sure how to articulate what this, because we had the operating transfers out. Basically, the ending fund balances, what you transfer in and what you transfer out have to balance on these taxation forms.
Yeah, but on the other side, if our overall revenue went up, then that 1% should have went up too, because if we started with 570, even though we spent 91,000 more, we should have more revenue coming in too. And I know you mentioned that earlier in intergovernmental expenses, but on the revenue side also, where's the increase in revenue for the VNT projects fund?
There won't be, because we transfer all the revenue out into the general fund.
So it's a complete balance transfer, total amount over to the marketing fund. So that's where you're not yet.
So this fund will keep going down, while the general fund will keep going up,
Correct.
as long as we do it right.
Exactly.
Is that everything, Chris? All right, any questions from you about this? All right, good job. Let's vote.
I move to approve the resolution to augment fiscal year 2016-17 budget as presented.
All in favor? Aye, opposed? All right, motion passes, thank you. Monthly non-action items for presentation discussion only. This will, we're modifying this, as Joel mentioned earlier, so it's only Section B that will be presented at this moment.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, it feels good leaving a job on a high note. It hasn't happened all that often in my life to where I get to leave on my own terms. Usually it's, asked to get out as quick as possible. But really,
when is your last day?
the 16th. Well, the 16th will be my first day in Ely, so the 15th will be my last day here.
Okay.
But the last couple weeks since accepting the position have been really, really busy because obviously I don't want to leave anybody high and dry. This certainly isn't a, turn and run from Carson. It's been an amazing, since '06 since I've lived here, but, 6 years since I've been involved in tourism here. And it's had a huge impact on me. So before I go into just kind of reminiscing about some of the things that I'm most proud about accomplishing with the team, the interactive map grant project, we're putting the last pictures in that right now, and it's going to be launched. I've contacted Parks and Rec Department so that that'll be able to populate on their site as well as ours when it's done. So I'm not dropping the ball on that one. The river rafting video is complete, and that page has been done, and the video looks awesome. And then, of course, our latest visitor's guide is done and out, so we're good for a couple months on that. But we did just have our last creative team meeting. So everybody's kind of been, given their marching orders and priorities to get us through the rest of the summer with new content to be created, stories to be repurposed, videos that are going to be done. So certainly not walking away, leaving a lot of things unfinished. I think with anything, it's walking away, leaving a lot of opportunity for the next group that comes in and gets to make their mark on tourism in Carson City. So with that said, the last 5 years it's been amazing. It's been transformational when I think about who I was 5 years ago and the fact that, Joel gave me a chance when a lot of people in the community were still a little bit skeptical of if I was legit or not. And then through that chance, I feel like I've really grown personally and professionally. I mean, the opportunities that have been presented over the last 5 years wouldn't have gotten in a master's program, wouldn't have gotten, working for myself. I mean, truly the experience is unique to working with the people that I've been lucky enough to work with over the last 5 years. And pretty much I feel like I've been able to watch and observe the best in the industry. I mean, you've got, the best director pushing the envelope and, changing tourism in Nevada for the better over the last 5 years. And you've got Chris as operational director and, teaching me about the financial aspect of, how to get things done properly. You've got the best creative team, the best hoteliers, event organizers. And of course, I've sat back and I've watched how a board and a director are supposed to work together to accomplish a staggering amount of goals. I mean, there was no slow time over the last 5 years, and really it's watching how Joel and everybody on the board work together to be able to do that. And so it's just been really, really cool to sit back and watch people who are just really passionate about what they do and really good about what they do make stuff happen. And I feel like that's really prepared me to hopefully be successful in this new director's position. So I just want to thank you guys for that opportunity to observe and watch how you make things work. And if I ever get in a pinch, I might be calling, because you've helped so much. So anyway, so to kind of reminisce about some of the things that stand out in my mind over the last 5 years, of course, I'm pleased with how much and the quality of content that we've created over the 5 years. But that's something that pleases me. It's not something that, is a matter of, doing an end zone dance for. That's what our job was. We were supposed to create content, but the intended consequence of 5 years ago flooding the internet with positive news and images to get rid of the IHOP shooting. I'm proud to say that when you search anything Carson City, there's no image, there's no news, then none of that is gone, and we've replaced all of that with just really, really positive community-minded content. And because of that, I feel like not just did it refresh the image of our community throughout the region, but it also raised community pride and self-respect. And that's something I'm really proud of within the community, that the whole community was raised up because we wrote good stories and we took good pictures and we made good videos and we worked with everybody. So that's something above and beyond just the duties of the job. It was that consequence that really makes me feel accomplished in what we were doing. I'm also really proud of the fact that we were able to work with our grassroots organizations, that we didn't create a scenario where there was dependence on the Visitors Bureau to be accomplished through things like BAN and the Business Alliance Network and putting on educational seminars. We were able to make our businesses and organizations independent. We were able to raise the level of how they thought of what was possible. And so, organizations like Muscle Powered, the Downtown Business Association, Brewery Arts Center, are stable. They've got great reputation in the community. They're doing amazing things that drive the quality of life in this town, and I'm stoked to have been a part of it from the tourism aspect, from a citizens aspect, from board aspect, but just being able to work with those organizations amongst all the other organizations too, and giving them a sense of empowerment and independence was really, really good, that we were able to share our resources and our knowledge to do that. As for campaigns, of course, the Ride Carson City campaign brings just a little bit of extra joy to my heart. It was by far the most successful integrated campaign that we had done. So that, of course, the website landing page, the videos, the Ride Carson City hashtag, which people still use, and I feel like they're going to be using forever now. It's just part of the fabric of Instagram for Carson City. User-generated content, and of course, merchandising that we can't keep on the shelf is really cool, and the fact that it was able to be tied into the Cyclocross Nationals up in Reno, which I'm not kidding, gave us millions and millions of impressions around the world. I mean, there still are people in Germany that tag into our Instagram page because they were turned on to us through Cyclocross Nationals. So that Ride Carson City and that weekend overall in Reno really had a huge impact for our exposure. And that, of course, allowed us to, well, it didn't allow us, but the fact that we were able to break into the mountain bike industry in such a short period of time. Everywhere I go, people come up to our booth and they're like, how'd you do it? What'd you do? What's your secret? Well, I think our secret's one part Todd Sadow and Epic Rides. But the other secret is that we showed up to support the mountain bike industry. You can't just feed people ads and tell them how cool you are. You've got to actually show up and be a part of other people's events. And we did that, and we supported the industry, and the industry supports us back. And I don't think that's going anywhere. And that's something really cool, because not just because I enjoy mountain biking, but it's a cool group of people, it's a supportive group of people, they're creative, and it's a great group to be associated with. I also feel like the way we acted as a capital city to reach out to the rural communities across the state and build those statewide relationships is a source of pride. Of course, when we took over, there was very little, knowledge outside of Carson City of what Carson City was all about, or there was old impressions. But as a capital, I feel like what you're doing has to radiate out across the entire state, and through, the Highway 50 Mountain Bike Adventure Project and rural roundups and going out and participating at that level, we've really made some great connections with the rural communities. It is going to benefit the entire state, but it's going to benefit Carson City because we're looked at as a capital. investing tourism money and resources back into the community. I feel like that's the role of tourism, is you bring people in to show them a really good time. They thankfully give their money to you, and then you reinvest that back into the community. So to be able to see things like trails development increase because of tourism money, acquisition of public art inside the Mind of Da Vinci, our murals, as well as supporting, the increase in the music scene that's in town, which was a personal goal 5 years ago, was to really see music thrive. And, we've got Concert Under the Stars, which grows bigger and bigger every year. We've got the Levitt Series, which is a hugely impactful event to the downtown. The Carson City Off-Road Music Fest, the acceptance of Burning Man. I remember 5 years ago, meetings would be adjourned and I would not be invited back if I mentioned Burning Man, and now that's a completely different story. People are like, hey, can you get your fire dancer friends here? So I think that's really, really cool, and the fact that I even got to book a hip-hop show this last Epic Rides that was a huge success. That was just so far out on a limb 5 years ago, and now it seems perfectly normal to have the diversity of music that we have in this community. So all of that, I feel like we changed the image of Carson City locally, regionally, and nationally during a time when it was struggling with its identity and its position in the region. So where we came from was a historic capital city, which was a great place to retire, and where we are now firmly is we're a contemporary capital with a rich history, world-class outdoor recreation, and thriving arts and culture scene. And that's what I'm proud of. So my recommendation for whoever's to come next, we've kind of had an unspoken standard that's helped us make decisions on what we're going to market and who we're going to partner with, and that's, is the project, is it healthy, is it innovative, is it educational? And I feel like if we keep using that standard to make decisions for our communities at every single level all the way up to the top, we're not going to make a bad decision. We're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to move forward. So again, a healthy community focused on education and innovation, and I think we're going to be all right. So I don't think it would be a good idea for whoever's next to deviate from that. I think the community would mutiny. So I feel like it is kind of the responsibility to continue moving forward in that direction. And so working with Joel and Chris and staff on what the best way to go about that is. I feel like focusing on some national public relations is really where the focus needs to be. So that would be taking our content that we're creating and going to continue to create and putting it in markets on TV, in magazines that are industry magazines. I've never been able to form the relationships like I wanted to, and I feel like it would be a huge asset to the Bureau to bring in somebody who has relationships in Chicago, New York, not just California, but all across the country, and has that in the food scene, the art scene, and get our content on a more national scale. So as much as it sucks to leave a community that I've worked so hard to make it a place exactly where I would want to live, I'm confident that we're not going to slide backwards. We've got 2 feet planted on the next rung in the ladder. We're not going back down. So I would just encourage everybody to continue to work together for the goals that the community sets. Because it is, the community that's driving it, and we're the ones that are supposed to make it happen. And as long as that goes on, I'm going to be sitting on the eastern side of the state watching you guys continue to thrive and continue to become this world-class tourism destination that I'll get to come back to and enjoy as a visitor. So anyway, thank you guys for all of your support through the years. Thank you guys. I can't thank you enough. And I want to stop before I start crying.
Well, so when did you start again, Kyle? When was your?
I was brought on as the social media person under contract, I believe, in 2012 or 13.
13. You were just shortly after I started all my changes.
I don't remember the year, but I remember making the decision to bring Kyle on board. And I would start off by saying congratulations on your position as executive director. But I think we came around the same time. I think it was 2012 for me. I'm getting older. I can't remember all the dates. But I have definitely seen the personal and professional growth in you and especially in the beginning when, it wasn't all like it is now. I can remember a day when we started when there were more people there in the audience with a lot of emotion towards the changes that we were making. So it just speaks to some of the things we had to go through together in order to get to this point, and you had a big role in that. And leadership is not always easy, and you took us through some tough but good times, and I really like how you described it: healthy, innovative, and educational. And I wrote that down. So I just wanted to tell you that you've done a fantastic job. A lot of us here on the board are proud of some of the accomplishments. You went through that because it's the last day for some of us here as well too. But it's not always how all the accomplishments that you named, but I'm also glad to hear that there's a lot of people that leave jobs and they go to different jobs, and the condition that they leave the job that they have now is not always the best way in which they do. So it also speaks to your level of leadership that you want to kind of leave your legacy, and when you leave on July 15th, that you don't check out early, that you care about how you move to your next position. So I've had a lot of experience with that. It's not always the case. And so I appreciate the time that you've had, the accomplishment you had, and I also appreciate the fact that I know that you talked about making sure that you hand this off in the right way. So that just speaks to your character. So I just want to thank you and wish you the best of luck. I don't know if I'll be down your way anytime soon, but you certainly can send us pictures.
You all have a spot reserved whenever you do make it out there. I can't wait to see you all.
I think you've done some killer stuff. I mean, as a marketing professional myself, watching the campaigns that you guys have put out have been phenomenal. Really, really great stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do out there, because I'll definitely check in with you and see what's going on.
Well, I just want to thank you for keeping me honest, because as the marketing professional on the board, I wanted to make sure my reports were good enough every month so that, if your head was going like this, then I was like, all right, cool, we're good. If you were going like this, then I knew I had to work harder. So, it was nice to have that peer-to-peer on the board.
Well, you did a really great job. I hope you do this in Ely, but I wish you had submitted some of your work for awards through the different organizations, because the work you guys did was award-winning work, and you're giving Reno a run for their money, and you're giving all these other communities a run for their money, and you should be proud of that work and submit it for awards and take some of those categories and participate, because those small rural communities need to be part of those bigger award ceremonies, and I think you could do it. So.
And I'd just like to say, Kyle, you felt like a son to me through this time, and it's been, I'm going to cry.
You can make me cry.
But it's been great to watch you mature. Each year, a little wiser, a little more knowledgeable, more composed in terms of how you deal with community, and those are all important traits that you'll take to the next level. So I wish you the best.
Thank you, Karen. You were the first person the public official that I saw in Carson City that was doing such amazing things that it inspired me to get involved with the Shade Tree Council and to get involved in Carson City in the first place. So thank you, and that son comment really means a lot to me.
Something to add, Joel?
Well, I'm going to have to close and contain my emotions. This is, because this tough exterior, I'm like one of the emotional guys. So, Kyle, you talked about taking a risk 5 years ago. No risk. Absolutely stellar. Everything you talked about with the accomplishments, and how many additional accomplishments. I mean, you didn't mention being named the #1 capital destination in the United States, and how significant a role you played in everything that we've accomplished. I love to go to battle for you. I love to be right next to your side as we've moved through all of this. I'll take the responsibility of not putting in for awards. I agree. I think we've had many an opportunity, and we've let other people recognize us, but I've never allowed you to probably get all the recognition you've deserved through the 5 years that you've been serving the Carson City and the Visitors Bureau and now the Tourism Authority. In my career, I've had an opportunity to employ nearly 3,000 people, which is a crazy number, but you've been absolutely one of the top employees with production, professionalism, everything I expected. I'm very excited for where you're going and what you're going to accomplish. I certainly hope White Pine County understands that they're going to have to continually bump up your pay to keep you on that side of the state. When I go to Rural Roundup and I work with the rest of the industry throughout Nevada, the respect that you've garnered in 5 years, I think everyone would love to have you represent their community. White Pine's very lucky to have you. You're going to be very difficult to replace, and you know that. And we all know that we can all be replaced. You wear many hats. You went from a social media manager to a marketing manager to running one of the most incredible, creative teams I've ever been involved with. You've made the end of my career an absolute blast, and I thank you for that.
Congratulations, Kyle. Absolutely what Joel said, and I mirror my comments according to everybody said. You are an all-rounder. And the best part that I see in you is that marketing is in your blood. You don't do it as a job, you do it as a passion. And that's extremely important in today's world. And you came in when the economy was not so great. And technology was a child that was growing. And your monthly briefings, I'm a data person, I'm a numbers guy. Your presentations were very elaborate, something we would wish we would see from anybody who replaces you. And you grew, what Jonathan said. You are not what you were 5 years ago. You're much better. And I think Ely is getting a great guy. They're going to see good results. It'll take you some time, but and you love the outdoors, and that's what Nevada is all about. Good you stayed in Nevada. Good you didn't move to California. I would have hated that. I would tie you up with the chair if you'd done that. But
We're staying in the family.
Again, good luck, and keep in touch with everybody here. And I think we're going to need you as we transition to a new person. Thank you for your work.
So with that, as mentioned, we also have some transition with our board this year. It's been equally as an honor of working with my staff as working for you as a board. You took a risk in me also, just like Kyle said. You took a risk in all of us, through the years now to transition Carson City to where it's at. And it's paid off for our business community, our residents, and certainly our visitors now that we're seeing in Carson. With that, I have recognition for 3 board members that are transitioning out. This is your last meeting. We are going to be doing a recruitment. The paper said for 3. It looks as if we have 2 members that will be coming back. One will have to apply because Jesse currently is representing the lodging industry on our board. The NRS, the Nevada Revised Statute, has 2 lodging representatives on the board. And with that, Jesse, I believe, will be transitioning out of ownership of a property and will no longer represent a lodging property in Carson City, although I think the rest of the West Coast you represent. But in Carson City, you have shown an interest in wanting to continue to support the community on this board, and you'll be applying in the recruitment that's currently open through July 30th as a resident, one of the positions that's going to be open. So with that, first I want to recognize Sandra for, I'm going to walk behind so I can keep going, for your dedication to this board. You stepped in when we needed to transition. You've done a great job as a resident and also representing lodging properties. So thank you for your commitment to Carson City and this board.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a very emotional day.
It is.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. And Renee, as Kyle mentioned, having a marketing mind on this board has been fantastic. You've served 2 terms. Thank you for everything you've done. And thank you for your commitment to Carson City. And I know that you have a lot of ambition, and I expect to see your name on a ballot someday. And not as running the campaign, but name on a ballot. And last, I have to say, Jonathan, with what all of us have talked about in accomplishments, would not have happened without you. And you know that. I don't think anyone in the community, I don't even think the board understands how many hours you and I have spent on the phone going through every decision, every challenge. When this room was packed with opposition, you ran this board phenomenal. You're transitioning out, not because you don't want to continue to support, but your career change has also changed your opportunity to represent this community on this board. You've served since 2012, and there's absolutely no doubt we would never be anywhere near where we're at without your leadership and you chairing this commission. So, thank you very much. So, that being said, 5 years ago, when I talked to my wife, my family, my friends about working for a board, all of them said, "Oh, you don't want to work for a board." And I assured everyone that the board that I would be working for had the same love, concern, and care and interests that I had in Carson City. And the 3 that are transitioning off and the 2 that are staying, I can't thank you guys enough. The 2 that are staying on, the only thing I would ask of you, being that you've contracted me to come back and help you through transition, and that was a simple transition, just looking at how we were going to change the director's position maybe, over the course of the next year or so. And now we've got a little bit more transition that has to happen. You trusted in me 5 years ago to make the changes. You've got me in contract through January, and I assure you that if you trust me to help you through this transition, we're going to continue the same success. So whatever support that the CTA can get from you all the way up to the board level, any decision maker in this community, let's continue the success. So, thank you.
Well, I just want to thank you, Joel, for, talk about really leadership of the board, but it's really everybody on the board that played a significant role. I mean, I can go back to when we first had our strategic meeting, whenever that was, back when Linda Ritter was facilitating that, and that was the time where we really had to show the most courage as a board, because we went in a completely different direction. It wasn't always popular, and as we've said, if anyone would come in the room now, you'd think it was easy, but without the support of the staff, I mean, everyone that did a great job here, and everyone on the board, we never would have set that. I mean, that's what really set the pace. And then bringing you on board, I mean, I really think was huge in really defining who we were, or who we were and who we are going forward. I mean, the job that you did leading us through this, I mean, you still remember the hotel meetings and all the things we did, and without your leadership, certainly wouldn't have been here. So thank you for that. And I still remember a conversation, I don't remember what it was, I still remember a conversation, I think I was sitting next to Karen, and she leaned over to me and said, "Hey, I want to bring this art and culture thing," which I knew nothing about, which I'm very educated about. And she leaned over to me and said, "Hey, I want to do this, we have to increase the room tax by 1%. I just remember thinking, oh, that's going to be but knowing coming from Karen, I just trusted it immediately. I mean, immediately, because of working with her since the time she's been on the board, and we all know how difficult that was. So, it really defines us, the fact that we were able to lead through tough waters. I mean, I know Karen as board of supervisors does that on a consistent basis, but for those of us that don't work in the public sector all the time, being able to learn how to run a meeting, how to do things properly, how to be able to navigate through tough times, and for all the guys for everyone here that helped us through that, I just want to thank you, because it's been I'm not the same person that I was in 2012 with regard to leading this board, and better as far as understanding not just procedurally, but just the importance to Carson City, the role that we play, and just hope that our successors are just really come on the board with. I think what really describes us is we didn't have any agendas. I mean, our only agenda was, what is the best decisions that we can make to push our mission forward. And I think that's the reason why we accomplished so much, and all of us had our role in doing that. And so I just want to thank everybody here for the time, and I'm going to go to a Board of Supervisors meeting at some point and thank them for giving me personally the opportunity. But it's just been a great experience. And so all of you, Chris and Linda and Joel and Kyle and Iris here, we guys have all done, we've all had our moments in which we've contributed to the success. So just want to thank everybody for that.
I remember Joel calling me and saying, hey, I want you to do this. And I was like, yeah, I really don't want to go to the Board of Supervisors meeting and actually stand up and have to apply for this position because it was going to be televised. And I was terrified, and he told me to suck it up, and I'm really glad that you did. Because I always try to put myself in uncomfortable positions anyway because it leads to growth. And even though I was not a part of this board when there were angry mobs in the crowd and whatnot, there has still been opportunity to grow and develop new skills and figure myself out as a person and as a leader and a business owner. So thanks to you guys for the opportunity, and see you on the other side.
All righty. I think this is, any other board comments or announcements or
Come on, Sandra.
requests for information? She's not feeling well.
I have a question, Joel.
We're going to give her a pass. She's not
Since-
feeling well.
Since 3 of us are leaving, and actually 4 maybe, but you still gonna have July meeting?
Sorry. What's going to have to happen is, because the recruitment for the openings will go through July 20th, it looks like the agenda is pretty packed for the second meeting in July for the Board of Supervisors. We will be going in front of the board on their first meeting in August. We'll push back the August meeting a week. That first week will be an orientation week for the new board members. Chris and I will take them around with staff, introduce them to the community, introduce them to the processes, and then they'll follow up a couple of days later with their first meeting in August. So at the August meeting, although the room tax revenues and everything will be posted to meet the requirements, we'll bring back double reports for August. So.
All right. No more Joel, you didn't bring the crowd, nothing, no send-off or anything? Just no,
circumstance.
You know me, low-key.
Exactly.
I do have a board announcement. I just want to give one more plug for Concert Under the Stars. July 11th. Buy your tickets, support the Greenhouse Project. CarsonCityGreenhouse.org is where you buy the tickets. They're going fast, so get them while you can. Jefferson Starship is the headliner.
Oh, yeah, we got ours.
I know it's at the top of the timeline on my personal Facebook page right now, so.
All right, any other announcements? Seeing no public comment, for possible action to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.